And we're back in Inside the Ropes, and starting off 2014, we could only start it off with the man who made Inside the Ropes Live a possibility. He is the master of the diamond cutter. He is responsible for changing a lot of people's lives for the positive. He entertained us all in WCW, in the WWF briefly, and he is the one and only Diamond Dallas Page. DDP, welcome to Inside the Ropes.
Good to be back on, buddy. Sorry I couldn't get with you the first time around, but my life's been a little, I wouldn't say hectic. It's just been challenging.
When we sort of announced that you were coming on the show this time round, the second time round, it was kind of a bit of a topical point because this coming Monday night, the WWE are doing an old school Raw. And one of the people in the promotional video was yourself. So is there any chance that we're going to see you in Baltimore on Monday?
Well, all I can say is that's the rumor. I love that movie, Tombstone, and when he watched Johnny Ringo, and he looks at Doc Holliday, he goes, "So you're Doc Holliday," and he said, "That's the rumor."
What? Okay, so obviously we'll be tuning in on Monday with the hope that you're going to be there. But I guess because you came back for the 1000th Raw as well, and you were at one of the Raws a few weeks before that when you did the thing with Heath Slater. What is it like going back now? Because it seems like not even just WWE, but just wrestling in general is so different in its sort of presentation from the time that you were around and active. Because when you were active, it just seemed to be, throwing everything against the wall, and it was so fast and furious, and it's kind of seems to have slowed down a little bit. How do you feel when you go back now? What have you noticed in terms of stages?
Well, you got to remember when I left WCW and had such an unbelievable run, and then for that very short time with the WWF, now WWE, but everything's WWE. Eventually, TNA may be WWE. Because they own everything. At some point, you never know. But when I went there was a lot of ill feelings towards WCW because that war that was on, it was pitched that this company's trying to put your company out of business, put your family out of business, trying to take food out of your family's mouth. Now, that's not the way I felt. I never thought WWF was going anywhere, no matter what happened. But there was a lot of, I don't know, I wouldn't say anger. I don't know what the word was, but it wasn't really positive. So, my tenure there was like 6 months. Got in, did my thing. Didn't really like what I did with Undertaker, obviously. Didn't work out the way I wanted it to. But I had a great little run with Christian, who I think is an amazing worker. And then if you watch WrestleMania 18, the match we had, one guy's 46, the other guy's 23. You ain't going to tell too much different because we gave it all out there. And we had a hell of a match, and it was absolutely in top 3 matches. The night, of course, Rock and Hogan would have been number 1, but after that, we were somewhere around 3. Best match of the night.
Not a bad place to be.
Yeah, not at all, especially on WrestleMania. So we had a good time there with that. And then I would do things occasionally with them. But today, I just got back from the Performance Center. Mm-hmm. The Performance Center down for WWE down in Orlando, where I did a 3-hour seminar with 50 of the young male studs and 16 of the female studettes. And I have an amazing relationship with the WWE. So coming in there, anytime they need me to do anything that's positive, I'm there. I've turned down some stuff. I just didn't think that really worked for what I'm doing today. But I was totally, when I went back there at the 1000th episode, I was really, I was excited to be there. There was a handful of guys there, bro. There's a shitload of guys that have been through all the companies. Mm-hmm. But there's a handful of guys that they keep bringing back for stuff like that, this type of thing. So, I'm honored anytime I'm ever involved in any of that. And it gets people a chance on a national level to see that DDP at 57 is still in great shape on the planet. And to me, I am the next. Did you ever hear of Jack LaLanne? Have you ever heard that name before?
Yeah.
Well, I'm the new Jack LaLanne meets Tony Robbins meets straight Richard Simmons. So
that's quite a combination.
And, to me, it's very important that my body's in the best shape that I can be in, and not just looking, because to look good doesn't mean anything if you don't feel good. And my body feels amazing. So anytime I can get out there and do anything, So I don't know if I'll be showing up this Monday night or not. I hear that's the rumor, but if I do, I know I'll be up there with a lot of energy. And, if I'm one of the privileged ones that come through there with that, I'll be excited about it.
Well, the other thing to kind of to talk to you about a little bit, and this is kind of like 12 questions in one, but I think sometimes people don't really give you enough props because the DDP yoga thing is so revolutionary, and there are people, as I'm sure you're aware of, that kind of go, yeah, they do, right? But I've spent time in your company, like we spent a day together in July, and I can say on the air, like, you are for real about this stuff. Even like in terms of the healthy eating, like I've sat with you in a restaurant where you have sort of said, "I'll have this. I'm not going to have this. I'll have this." It's a proper sort of thing that you put yourself through, and it's a routine that you've got, and then you've got yourself into this sort of state of mind, and you do these things, and it sort of had this trickle effect because we all know the Scott Hall and the Jake Roberts story, and for anyone that came to our show in July in Glasgow, you got quite emotional about Jake, and but he's still going strong and still working hard at it. And then to look at Dustin Rhodes, who's now back in a run with WWE. I mean, he's arguably out wrestling most of the guys in the roster, and he's in his 40s, and part of that is attributed to DDP Yoga. So, how do you feel about that? Because it's kind of like there's such a goodwill towards you now because of all this stuff. How do you kind of take that now?
In stride. Dustin is like, the Rhodes family is family to me. Dusty Rhodes is my mentor. I helped other big brother raise Cody back when he was coming up. That's it was really big when Dustin reached out and wanted to give it a shot and then loved it. And then I got him in a movie with me, this little indie movie where we played together as two cops, which was a lot of fun. And then boom, he gets his shot again. I think he's 44, 45. I mean, and he's rolling. That match he had with Orton that night, that got him. I texted Triple H. And I said, man, Dustin kicked ass out there.
Phenomenal.
And he checking back. He goes, he really did good, didn't he? I said, yes, he did, man. I was so proud of him. And, Jericho is the guy, that really put DDP Yoga on the map. Before Jake, before Scott, before Dustin, before, if you listen to Edge or Al Snow talk about it, and I love Edge. Edge is someone who I hit it all. I was happy to be his first big name that he beat. I was happy to be that man for him. Al Snow is one of the coolest fucking dudes on the planet. And for those two guys to talk about DDP Yoga the way they do is, it's because it's real, and what I'm doing, and it has, when it clicks, Kenny, right now, I'm developing an app. That will change the face of fitness as we know it. It's going to open up doors. It's going to blow DDP Yoga up to a worldwide household name in less than 5 years, closer to 3. Because it already has such crazy momentum. But Chris Jericho being the first guy, I mean, his back was blown out. He was done. And he saw that video of the disabled veteran, Arthur Borman. And he saw that and said, D, Chris Jericho, the guy who is the first undisputed world champion, having both belts, and had probably, besides Austin, The Rock, and Hogan, probably, and maybe, no, I gotta say, had the best career of anybody. Over Sting, over everybody, because he's not just, a guy who's a top guy in our business. He sells out friggin' arenas where he's playing with his Fozzy. He acts and does, his game shows and Dancing with the Stars. I mean, more people know that name, Chris Jericho. That's right up there with, under The Rock, of course, because The Rock is the man. And I got to just put out props to the guy who is the biggest star in Hollywood, is one of our guys. That's a big fucking deal. He's one of our guys. And cool. He did it as good as you could do it. But Jericho, he ain't far under that list, as far as guys who came out of our world and is still a monster name and just going out there doing his thing. So when Chris Jericho started saying, DDP Yoga changed my life, the other boys went, like, really? Like, I got a text from Kane the other day. And he texted me saying, I heard you were down at the PC Performance Center for WWE. And he said, I've been slacking off. I got to get back on my DDP Yoga. That's Kane. Glenn Jacobs texted me that. I mean, that to me is cool. When I walk in WrestleMania last year and Jerry Briscoe stops what he's doing, comes over and hugs me, he said, I want to thank you for two things. One, for saving Jake Roberts' life. Two, for giving me back mine. He goes, I couldn't believe how bad a shape I was when I started your shit. He goes, but I'm in it now. A guy, Jerry Briscoe, that's a real deal. So for me, I ain't ever selling. I'm just talking because I'm passionate. And if it was about a really great burrito that we had that was gluten-free and organic, and it was like unbelievable, I'd be telling you about it all the time. I go, this is the best burrito you have ever had. And I would go on and on and on about it because it made me go like, wow, that's amazing. But what I'm doing with DDP Yoga, it's changing lives on a monster level right now. And this isn't even the beginning. This is like today, my sales are so amazing. Like I really don't have to do anything else, but I will continue to do exactly what I'm doing as if I'm selling one unit a day.
One of the things that's really cool is that you're very accessible to people as well. It's not a case of you put out this product and you kind of say, there it is, and that's it. If people contact you, you kind of, you give them, if somebody tweets you and says, oh, you've saved me or you've done this, you'll tweet them back. It's cool how accessible you're being with people, because I think that's a touch that's missing from a lot of places.
Well, it's hard to be accessible to everyone, but I make myself, and you know this, Kenny, because you've seen me on the streets, because I'm the same guy on the street as I am on stage. If I can't say hello to 1 million people when I walk, if I'm in front of 22,000 people, because it would be insane. But if you catch me on the street or in a restaurant or whatever, I'm going to say, hey, how are you? Shake your hand, blah, blah, blah. Take a picture. If I'm not in the middle of doing a bunch of shit and I'm done, I'll still take the picture if you're going to wait. But that's just too to me, fame has always been a fleeting moment. To me, I used to have people who were saying, oh my God, DDP, can I get a picture? Now it's more like, oh my God, DDP. Oh man, you mind if we take a picture? It's like now I'm your uncle that you haven't seen in a while.
Uncle DDP.
And you love that uncle, and you know what? I may never see you again. I got to get a picture of us, And for me, if the fans, I do this retreat every year in Mexico. And this year I had to go 2 weekends back to back. So it's actually 11 days, the retreat. But you could come in for 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. You can come in for this weekend and leave, or come in for the following weekend. So I'm going to be there for 11 days. We had 80 people at the last retreat. And this is a 5-star resort. It's called the El Dorado Spa and retreat. And when I tell you, just go to ddpyogaretreat.com and look at the rooms, look at the place. And when you get to the price, you're going to be like, get the fuck out of here. What's the hook? There is no hook. I've been there. This is my 4th year I'm going to be doing it. And I had 80 people come to this one. And the number one thing that everyone said is, these are the nicest people I've ever met in my life. Now, we've got some people who've made every year. This year, the day when we were down there at the retreat, I told everybody next year we were doing it for a 2-week period. It's going to go 11 days, blah, blah, blah. But you could come in whenever you want, leave whenever you want. Here's what we're going to be doing, blah, blah, blah. We had 21 people of the 80 sign up and put their deposits in right then, because I shut it off at 80. I mean, I could have had 180, but I have to shut it off at some point because I want to be able to spend time with people. You know, we work out hard, obviously, but there was at least 7 people who came to that one who had never done DDP yoga before, and were also, limited to a certain degree. And I don't mean can't walk like Arthur, but I mean, like had real problems with their knees, their back, or whatever. I'm always showing how to modify the position. So no one gets lost in the shuffle. Now, for those other people who are like kick ass towards, 3/4 of the way through that workout, those other people, they check out, and I take it to the next level for those other people. So everybody gets what they need, and we eat really good. And I show people it's called genetically modified foods that, that God didn't create. The shit that they've done to, GMO foods, and it could be wheat, dairy, corn, soy, whatever it is. We don't eat any of that shit. You can if you want, but at this 5-star resort, they are so used to me and my people that they're huge gluten-free, huge dairy-free. So, well, I just put it all together, and they came up with some most amazing. There's 9 different restaurants down there, and the food's unbelievable. So you talk about walking it and talking it, like I live it. And then, of course, we party too. After that second workout during the day, if you don't want to make it, or if you caught the morning workout and you want to come back and meet us in the pool, 2 out of every 4 days I'm there, I'm drinking.
Right.
And I'm having a party with people there, and we're having it, and all my drinks are really clean too. You catch a great buzz. Tequila is one of the best, cleanest liquors that you can drink. So I'm a big supporter of tequila.
There you go. Maybe that's an ad for you in the future.
Yeah,
an ad for tequila. One of the when we do the show, one of the kind of characters in wrestling recently that a lot of people have been really, really high on, and you were as well. You said it last year, the Wyatts family in WWE, and because obviously the last time we spoke was July, so they hadn't really debuted in television yet. I think they were still doing the vignettes. Have you had a chance to watch much of their stuff since they kind of debuted in August, and what do you think about it in execution on TV as opposed to the vignettes?
It's really tough to take them because the vignettes are just so, it's devil's rejects,
Yeah.
And I think they've done an amazing job, putting them into a G market. It's because it's tough to take that over. And so far I haven't seen anything they've done in the last 2 months because I've just been really busy. But what I've seen up till now, I think they've done a really great job with. And I like that I see that the WWE is bringing back tag teams. And Paulie Dangerously, who was one of the greatest managers of all time to begin with, back, and doing his thing and getting the different characters out there again. I think that that's good, So, I see good things for the business. I see it morphing again and finding its way, into its next big run. And over these last, 6-7 years, a lot of the guys who were superstars were kids. From Randy Orton being the world champion at 23 or 22, whatever he was. He's like 32 now. I mean, Randy is a man. You
Yeah.
know, and so is Cena, and so all these guys out there, they're heading into that next spot, and that's where I think I could be wrong, but I could see in the next 3 or 4 years just Vince finding that next mixture that they do, and boom, wrestling explodes again. Because it's very cyclical. If you look at it, it's like the wrestling's like the stock market.
Mhm.
It has its ups and it goes down. And I think that little by little, I've seen a lot of good things. I love when they do things like bring RVD back in. And do shots like that with guys like that who are, legitimate fucking top superstars who still go out. I mean, he's 43. He goes out and tears it down. Whew, I get sore watching him.
Yeah, it's clever though because he had said in an interview that he wants to come back for a short stint and then go away for a little while and come back, and he's kind of like, as opposed to coming back and burning himself out by just keeping going. So
and he'll get lost like that. This way, you come in, you get the big push, you get your shit over, you get some young kid over, you fade out, go away, come back, get a big push, and he can deliver. My favorite character this year, besides Randy's my guy, so I was so happy. I texted him when I saw I won the unified world title, and I didn't see the match. But I saw the next match, I think it was the next night that he had with Daniel Bryan, who I am a super fan of Daniel Bryan. Bryan, one of my good buddies is Steve Regal, and we both, we go to the same. I turned him on to that voodoo doctor I told you about, the guy who turned me on to the alternative medicines and the alternative doctors and all that therapies and stuff. Well, his name is Dr. Ken West, and I turned Regal onto him 13 years ago, and he still sees him, all the time. So Regal told me, I'll never forget it. Bryan, probably he was there about maybe a year ago, not a year ago, year or so into the WWE, and he introduced me to him, and he said, "Kid's gonna be a big star." He goes, "Watch him, he's got it." And I'll be damned if he wasn't right about that. And that kid's over.
It's funny. I remember I don't know how much you've seen of it, but I remember being in the arena in Miami for WrestleMania when when he lost the title in 18 seconds, and so many people I knew were so pissed about it, but that moment seemed to get the fans so much more behind him. Like that whole 18-second thing spawned the whole yes, and it just seems like every month he just continues to skyrocket.
That loss was the best thing that ever happened to him. I mean, the best. Do you remember when, and I know you do, you remember when Bret Hart beat Stone Cold and he passed out from the blood loss because he wouldn't quit? That loss made Stone Cold Steve Austin. Actually, it was the match before that with Jake, when Jake gave him that rub.
Yeah.
And then he cut that promo, that famous promo on Jake. What happens if he pulls the deal? If he pulls another, it's not Jake. If it's not Jake Roberts, pick anybody. And Steve gets that win, and he's on his way to King of the Ring. He never says 316 just kicked your ass. Changes everything.
It's funny to think about that because I was watching Triple H's DVD not too long ago, the new one that he's got out, and the fact that he was the original guy that they were going to give the King of the Ring to in '96, and it's like, if that had happened, would Jake and Austin have ever, would that have ever happened? Because it just seems like, if you take one thing out of that scenario, that sort of perfect moment.
And you know why he didn't get that spot?
The curtain call.
Exactly. So again, what seemed like, and here's another little inspirational tip to everyone out there listening. sometimes you have to thank God for your failures, for things you wanted so bad that never happened. Because life is about timing. And if Triple H gets that push there, I'm sure he still becomes a superstar. But I don't know if he becomes the superstar that he does. If you go back in time and watch how they put together Generation X and all of that, and or D-Generation X, and to really understand Paul Levesque like I do, like I was there when he came in as Terror Rising.
Mm-hmm.
I became a wrestler while he was there. Terry Taylor trained us a lot down there at the power plant. Because Terry, even though he was making his money, he could have stayed home, just collected his money, but he didn't. He went down to power plant. He trained the guys who wanted to learn. And Triple H has never drank, smoked, none of that shit. He's awesome friggin' wheelman for anybody. And one night we were at a strip joint, and Paul had left to walk over to the bathroom, and Terry and I were at the bar, and he looked at me and he said, he goes, I like that kid. He's got your work ethic. I said, yeah, and his age. And when he went up there, when he went up to WWE, at the time WWF, I called Kevin Nash. We were former tag team partners. I said, you got a good kid coming up here. Might want to take him under your wing. Good kid. And that's what he was. And he worked hard, and he earned respect. And he was there today. Johnny Laurinaitis was staying at my house. I know Johnny Ace since 88. Best friends the whole ride. And he'd come through my crib around 94. And he said, I got a new finish. I think you should start using it. I said, what do you call it? He goes, the Ace Crusher. I said, well, let's go down to power plant. And Canyon was there. Watts was there. Triple H was there. Big Show was there. And he showed me how to do it. And he did it with one arm. And he'd point up at the sky and do the peace sign. He goes, you do whatever you want. So I said, I'm going to grab this hold Steven Regal taught me called the cravat. Because when I put that hold on you, I don't care who you are, including the Big Show, you ain't getting out of it. And I did that. And then I'd take like a running jump. And I did it like that for a while. And then one day, being the Jake Roberts, guy who was like, he besides being one of my closest friends, he was my mentor. And I watched him. I studied his shit, man. And it's so funny because later on I'd watch his match and I'd go, man, I did something just like that, but different. From sitting in the corner, the way I would sit in the corner, the way Jake would sit in the corner. It was all little things that I did that were different. And then one day, because Jake would hit that DDT out of nowhere. One night I just hit that diamond cutter out of nowhere. And I'd always bring my matches to Jake so he could look at them and tell me what he thought and what he didn't like. Mm-hmm. And this one night, I remember him saying, yeah, I like that. That's good. And I did something else. He goes, that's new. I said, yeah, it's new. He goes, lose it. It sucks. And then I got to the end where I hit the diamond cutter out of nowhere, and he took a big drag out of his cigarette, and he laughed as he was blowing the smoke out. He looked over at me. He goes, now you get it. He goes, that's the secret to that move. And I started doing it ever since then. And that's what made it mine. That's what made, because Johnny, which is funny, if you look at pictures of Johnny when he gave me that movie, he had long hair. If you check pictures of him as he's gotten older, when he was wrestling in Japan, you'll see him catching ace crushers out of everywhere, just like I did. Which was, so I gave back to the guy who gave to me, So it's pretty cool. And I love how Randy puts his own little sly on it. He's more of a lurking, waiting, and going to strike to attack. And he'll hit one out of nowhere occasionally, and every time he does something like that, I feel like, yeah, that was sweet.
Yeah, no, he is. Yeah, Randy Orton is. Whenever I watch the punts to the head that he does,
Oh,
they just look so good. You know, because you're like, how, like
say
you
what you mean.
watch it.
So real. Say
Yeah.
so real.
hmm
Because
It's
they gotta
insane.
be. They gotta be. You know, that's all I can say. You know that he's got to stiffed. He's got to have stiffed a bunch of some bitches. He's got to have.
uh,
Yeah.
and just to kind of close off, you are coming back to the UK. Obviously, you were with us last July for Inside the Ropes Live, but now you are coming back to do a full UK tour. So tell us how that all came about that you decided to come over and unleash DDP across the UK.
If there's one thing I can do, it's talk and tell stories, and I can tell them for days, not
hmm
hours, days and weeks. You know, because I've got a billion of them, and it's easy to remember them because when they really happen, you know, you're just telling them how it went down, and it was interesting. It was an interesting format, you know, from how you guys did your little thing out there, then how we did the Q&A thing, and yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. You know, it was fun to do. So I'm hoping I talked about her in the opening show. Hoping BK, you know, she'll be done with her second set of her chemos and stuff that she has to do. Which, but one thing I forgot to mention, it's like 10 to 15% of the chemo that they put in your country in our country. In this down here in Mexico, they do 10 to 15%. So you
hmm
don't have all the same effects and sickness and hair loss and all that other shit. But I'm hoping that she's going to be, you know, top end, so I'll bring her with me. And we're looking to touring all around. And also, we haven't named any days where we're going to be doing the DDP Yoga stop, but we're going to do that. And I'm not exactly sure where it's going to be, but I know I'm going to have at least two minimum, maybe three or four workshops while I'm there. So stay tuned right here to Kenny and Bull will let you know. And I think that's an awesome time. And we were doing something like a workshop. Q&A is a lot of fun because of the energy in the room, and you know, people have cocktails involved. You know, it can just be a lot of fun. When I'm doing my workshop, which is about 2.5 to 3 hours after I've taken pictures and signed things, and I really break down what the where the program came from, why it's not YRG anymore, why it's not yoga, why it's DDP yoga, why it ain't your mama's yoga. I've got a pretty compelling story that is incredibly inspiring as well, and then I break down the workout from the dynamic resistance to the breathing to the diamond dozen. I have people who have come to 5 of my workshops. 5. This one guy, Don, and every time he comes, he learns something new, and plus he loves the energy of the people. You know, we do a workout there, and I show the modifications as we go. And I've never been to a place that people didn't have like a really amazing time. So be looking for the DDP Yoga workshops to be lighting up probably, you know, within this week. I'm going to find those locations.
You can just find Eros Comedy online for all the dates that you guys are going to be doing your shows. And but yeah, so I guess just to kind of finish things off, plug away at where people can find out about you and the yoga and all the good stuff.
What'd you call it? What'd you call it, Kenny?
The DDP yoga, that's what
Yeah, okay, all right, sure. Don't ever call my shit yoga. You know, everybody's listening to me. I tell you, don't listen to a word I have to say. And I honestly mean that. Just go to Facebook/DDP Yoga. It's one word, DDP Yoga on Facebook. Read what people write. You cannot make that shit up. You can't make 22,000 people in an arena chant DDP or Stone Cold or yes. You can't make them do it. They got to really be behind something and really believe in it to do that. And I know because I've been on that side and now I'm on this side. And Facebook, DDP Yoga, some amazing stories on there. You can also go to TEAM, teamddpyoga.com. That's normally you get invited to that when you get the program, but I let anybody who wants to go on that site, sign up, watch what happens. You will never believe the community, the support community of people there. I've helped literally thousands of people. Yo, monkeys, it's me, DDP, the king of bada bing, the master of the diamond cutter, the three-time world champion and creator and CEO of DDP Yoga. And you, monkey? You're listening to Inside the Ropes every Thursday. And that's not a bad thing, my friends. That is a good thing. Bang!